Hi, good neighbors. It's been a while. It's been about a week and a half since I saw you last. I was battling a virus last week. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was in my throat. Felt like shit. It wasn't allergies. Went and got tested. Didn't have the Rona. Didn't have the flu, but it was some sort of virus. Still have a little bit in my throat yet, but I'm going to try and tough it out the rest of the week. But welcome to another edition of For What It's Worth here on the Cole County Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Ryan Neff. A lot of shit to talk about, eh? A lot of stuff. So, the big thing from yesterday, if you didn't see President Stupid's picture that he put out, uh, everybody thought it was a portrait of himself playing Jesus. He came out later on and said that he wasn't. He was picturing himself as a doctor, healing people. In fact, let's listen to what President Stupid had to say.
Did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better. As an example, the 11,000, I understand your husband's going through treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's
He
going
has
through
cancer.
some very serious cancer treatment, so
Yes, sir.
this goes a long way.
Yes, sir. It sure does.
Yeah. Then it turns out that lady supposedly was an actor that he hired. So that was all false bullshit. Of course, the MAGA establishment will say that no, that wasn't planned. Why the fuck would you have somebody DoorDash to the White House and McDonald's yet? Spending all this money for your supposed ballroom, yet you're ordering DoorDash from McDonald's. Okay, all right. Of course, he's taking down the post after he had a conversation with Mike Johnson. This is what Mike Johnson had to say yesterday.
Speaker Johnson, can I ask you about the president's post depicting himself as Jesus? Was it blasphemy?
I talked with the president about it as soon as I saw it, and told him that I don't think it was being received in the same way he intended it. He agreed and he pulled it down. That was the right thing to do. He explained how he saw that, and I don't think he thought it was sacrilegious at all. So,
Do you think he should back down?
I think he showed great respect to others by removing it.
So he showed great respect to others by taking it down. Before he even thought about putting that up, don't you think he would have had great respect for others for not posting that? At this point, this whole thing is a shit show. Look, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I listen to both sides and then make up my mind. But even the staunchest MAGA supporters can't defend what he did yesterday. If he wants to come out and say, oh, it's fake news. I'm just trying to portray myself as a dog. Okay, whatever. Whatevs, as the kids say. That's all a joke. Just all a joke. It's a shit show. You know, I said before President Stupid got elected that you don't give a fuck about you or I or you. This is going to be a vendetta tour. He was going to do what he wants to do. And of course, you got suck asses and kiss asses that have their head up his ass for whatever reason, I don't know. But he's demented. He's sick. You know, and I find this kind of funny that in his first term, the Trump women in the family were vocal. You don't hear shit out of any of them now. None of them. Melania had to come out last week and poo-poo the Epstein story about her knowing Epstein and X, Y, and Z when there's stuff out there that's linked her to Epstein, photos. JD Vance had his take on President Stupid's post.
Has expressed problems with the war in Iran, says that we should be peacemakers, been very vocal. The president took to Truth Social saying Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a shocking surprise. He wasn't on any list to be pope, was only put there because the church, because he was an American, they thought he would be good, best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. If I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. Just wondering, as a Catholic, how you consider this Truth Social post, and then the post of the picture, which a lot of people took as the president posting a picture of himself as Jesus. He later said that he posted it as thinking as a doctor saving people.
I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support, and only the fake news could come up with that one.
But it really caused a kerfuffle, Mr. Vice President. I'm just wondering what you make of all of this, and whether it's what you think of this back and forth with the church.
Well, first of all, Brett, I think the president was posting a joke, and of course he took it down because he recognized that a lot of people weren't understanding his humor in that case. I think the president of the United States likes to mix it up on social media, and I actually think that's one of the good things about this president is that he's not filtered. He doesn't send everything through a communications professional. He actually reaches out directly to the people. You know, when it comes to the disagreements with the Vatican, look, we're going to have disagreements, Brett, from time to time. I think it's a good thing, actually, that the Pope is advocating for the things that he cares about. But we're always going to have disagreements on matters of public policy, or I should say, sometimes we're going to have disagreements on matters of public policy. The Pope has been critical of our immigration policy, but ultimately the immigration policy of the United States is set by Donald Trump. The Pope is going to have disagreements on other issues. We can respect the Pope. We certainly have a good relationship with the Vatican, but we're also going to disagree on substantive questions from time to time. I think that's a totally reasonable thing and isn't particularly newsworthy.
Do you think that when the president says it's hurting him?
It was a joke. Sick joke, by the way. But it was a joke. In JD Vance's eyes. And then he took it down. But in our vice president's eyes, it was a joke. It was meant to be a joke. Couldn't have come up with something better than that. Does anybody have the balls? Like if Donald Trump was your father and he was doing all this, would you just let him do it? Or you, as said father's child, would you confront him about it? Because at some point, somebody's going to have to confront him and say, you're not well. You're not right. People slam Joe Biden for this, that, and the other thing, skipping over his lines and skipping over his sentences and forget where he was walking. And I was one of look, a year and a half before the elections, I said that he wasn't right. Joe Biden, I'm talking about. Said somebody should have got to him early on and said, look, Joe, you have nothing left to prove. Thank you for your service. The faculties are slipping, and we just think it's best that we find another candidate, albeit I know you're going to get pushback, but we're more concerned about your health at this point. But no one seems to be concerned or has the balls to say shit to this president. For whatever reason, those reasons are, I don't know. So, you have the president, putting that shit up. You have him attacking Pope Leo. Italy's prime minister came out and said this.
All'Europa, agli Stati Uniti e all'Occidente in generale.
Crede che Trump potrebbe chiedere scusa?
Penso che quello che ho detto è quello che penso, che le dichiarazioni in particolare sul pontefice fossero inaccettabili. Ho esprimo la mia solidarietà a Papa Leone. Le dico di più, francamente io non mi sentirei a mio agio in una società nella quale i leader religiosi fanno quello che dicono i leader politici. Diciamo non in questa parte del mondo, ecco, per cui non sono stata d'accordo e ve l'ho detto. Grazie, signore.
So she's obviously going to back the Pope. And the more and more he acts a fool, world leaders just think he's an idiot. Period. And they're not going to take his shit. And when people stand up to Trump, he doesn't like it. So then he has to act like a baby and he has to put in his rants. And if somebody doesn't agree with him, you're done. There was a person, a man of the cloth, say you will. He had this to say about the photo that Trump threw up yesterday. Oh, and by the way, there are some MAGA supporters who think that it wasn't Trump who did that, even though he said he did it. But you figure that one out. So here's what the man in the cloth.
He, of course, has said, as you just heard, he thought this was him being, depicted as a doctor. Not everyone sees that as a doctor. What do you make of this, both this image and the backlash to it in this moment?
Yeah, I don't know too many doctors that have glowing hands. So that's the most Jesus-looking picture I think I could imagine. And I think it was pretty shocking to me that someone would put themselves in the place of Jesus. And as your reporter was just saying, it came after he had just been tweeting out a pretty hateful attack on Pope Leo. So obviously religion was on his mind last night. And that probably came from watching the 60 Minutes special with the three cardinals. So I guess he was, thinking about religion, and that's what came out.
Yeah. I don't know of too many doctors that are dressed like that, by the way. Glowing hands, the robe. I think if I walked into a doctor's office and my doctor looked like that, I would just turn around and walk away. Because that would be a red flag. That would be a red flag or something. It's just funny. It's good stuff. You remember a few weeks ago when Marco Rubio said this?
And that is what he is doing. From the very first night of this operation, the president made it very clear. People like this, and now what I'm talking about is not the people of Iran. The people that run this country are radical Shia clerics. These are religious fanatics.
Okay. You know who President Trump's spiritual advisor is? It's Paul White. If this isn't radical, I don't know what is.
Angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now.
What the fuck is that? That's not radical, though, right? That's not radical whatsoever. It just it's comedy, man. It's comedy at its finest. And it's funny. So yeah, we had that going on. Democrats, there are some Republicans who have come out and said that this really needs to stop. But there are Democrats who are fed up. And again, I am not a political analyst. I just follow the issues. This is what Cory Booker had to say in reference to President Trump recently.
If we allow this as a Congress, this is the new standard. Donald Trump can wage war on Cuba next for 30, 60 days before having to consult Congress. Donald Trump could invade Greenland. These are not hypotheticals. He has said he's going to take Cuba. He said he's going to take Greenland. The standard this Congress, the Republicans in this Congress are saying is the president could attack any country, pledge billions of dollars, have multiple American lives lost, and there be no congressional action whatsoever until 60 days. That would shred the very ideals of the Constitution of the United States of America. It cannot be allowed. But if you're going to ask a simple question, what threshold? It should have been immediately when this president launched a war. It should have been immediately. If not that, then it should have been when American lives started to get lost. If it not that, then it should have been when our jets and planes were shot down. If not that, it should have been after a school of children were bombed and killed. At what point does Congress act? Does it hold an open hearing? Does it ask for accountability? Does it ask for an accounting? Does it ask and provide checks and balances? We are in this situation not just because of Donald Trump, but because of his congressional enablers that are allowing him day after day to conduct an illegal war costing the American people billions of dollars, American lives, and skyrocketing costs. The whole world is less safe right now because of Donald Trump. The whole world is in economic crisis because of Donald Trump. The whole world is in a state of crisis, and Americans are paying for it. So this group here, we are going to continue this. We are going to demand debates. We're going to use our positions to bring war powers resolution after war powers resolution because the Republicans don't want to talk about this. The Republicans don't want debates on the floor. They clearly don't want to have hearings because they haven't had them. This government, this democracy does not work when an executive out of control isn't checked by Congress. And so I'm grateful for the leader.
Don't disagree. Don't disagree one bit. Look, if this were my father and he was president and I saw this shit going on, I confront him about it. Say, look, man, care about more about your health than anything. Because you're doing some stupid shit. And the bottom line is, you know, he can say something at 7:04 Eastern time. And then somebody asks him the same question at 7:09 and say, well, you said this just 5 minutes ago. No, I didn't. There are other senators that are being pushed to the brink.
Adam, let me be pretty blunt. The American people are poorer and less safe because of this president. He got us into a conflict without a strategic goal, without a plan, without a timeline, without an exit strategy, and at this point, he is just flailing. Tried to get us out through a negotiation the other day. The vice president spent 21 hours, and at the end of that negotiation, I understand that the president was at a UFC fight, enjoying the evening with his Secretary of State. In what world does that make sense? That's how serious he is taking this. We have 13 dead Americans. We have 13 families out there that don't have fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters. There are 150 dead Iranian kids and probably in excess of another 1,000 Iranian civilians needlessly killed. Our magazine depths are somewhat depleted. PAC-3 rounds for SM-3s, THAAD rounds, or PAC for Patriots, SM-3 rounds, THAAD rounds, other munitions. We've spent billions of dollars, and this president does not have a plan. And now his latest thing is he's going to completely close the Strait of Hormuz and continue to drive up energy costs and food costs for the American people.
I feel the pain. I feel the pain. I really do. Again, this administration under Trump, this is Trump's vendetta tour. Anytime he gets pressed on something, well, the 2022 election, or whatever the fuck it was rigged. 2020 election. We were rigged. We were jobbed. We were this. We were that. Get over it. Just fucking get over it, man. But that's his go-to. When he's pressed on oil prices and gas prices. Well, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. You said that last June. You said you obliterated it. And then a week after the invasion of Iran, not invasion, but the attack, they came out and said they were 2 weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. And of course, MAGA supporters will say, I'll deal with $4 a gallon. Our country's safe. Yada, yada, yada. Say that 3 months from now. Because we are T-minus 5 weeks from Memorial Day. 5 or 6 weeks, somewhere in there. 6 weeks. And usually gas prices in summertime go up. So we got that, Larkin. And it's costing you $80 to fill up your tank. Oh, and there's other senators that are pissed.
Emphasize the point my colleagues have made. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the President of the United States gets to start a war and wage a war for 60 days without authorization for Congress. The Constitution says the opposite. If you're going to wage a war, you need authorization first. You don't get to wage a war for 60 days without congressional authorization.
Oh, there's more.
And people are angry, they are frustrated, and they are disgusted. When Donald Trump ran for president, he promised to lower costs. He promised to strengthen the economy, and he promised to be the president of peace. He lied. He has done none of that. He found money to build his ballroom and give tax cuts to billionaires that were funded by our health care and food assistance for Americans. Working families are struggling in President Trump's America. But instead of working to provide relief, President Trump has launched into a reckless war with no end in sight. This war has already cost the lives of 13 Americans, hundreds of children, and thousands of civilians. And it's caused our gas prices to skyrocket, to be higher than we've seen in years, putting further strain on the American people and their pocketbooks just trying to make ends meet. And when asked what his mission is, what's his purpose, what's his exit strategy, how will this war end, he says it will end when he feels it in his bones. But the most disgusting thing about this war is what President Trump said last week, that he wanted to destroy an entire civilization. Not only is that a war crime, not only is that against the Geneva Convention, it's inhumane and it's disgusting. The American people will not stand for this kind of presidency and this war. He doesn't have a strategy, he is reckless, and frankly, he is insane. This is why we are introducing these war powers resolutions. New Yorkers deserve a better president than what President Trump has been doing. He's supposed to be focused on costs, but no, he's got an endless war. It's time for Congress to act so that we can end this dangerous, illegal, and destructive war and focus on the real issues that matter to our constituents: lowering costs, creating jobs, and building a brighter future for America.
Preach. To say that DC right now is bumblefuck city would not be an exaggeration, period, because it is. There are those who believe he started this war to try and detract from the Epstein files. I'd be fine. Conspiracy theorists are always going to be out there. But when you have Jared Kushner your son-in-law, trying to negotiate X, Y, and Z, and then coming back to President Trump and saying, they're close to this, they're close to that. That's fucking Jared Kushner. What does he know about foreign policy? Nothing. Told the American people June 2025 we obliterated Iran's nuclear capability. And then 8 months later, they were 2 weeks away from having we didn't know about the uranium they had underground. Again, the man thinks that 90% of America that votes are fucking stupid. And to be quite honest with you, there's a part of me that believes him. It's amazing. You had some Republicans go on TV yesterday and basically, this is what their take on everything was. Let's
We're
start
the
here.
leading producer of oil in the world. We're exporting more than we're importing. We're not standing in lines. That overall wages have been growing faster than inflation under this president. Here it is. It's going to be tax day very soon, and Americans are going to get an extra $1,000 or $1,500 rebate as well. So I'm sorry the gas prices are going up, but help is on its way. And your national security, yes, is even more important than your pocketbook.
I don't know what to say. Don't know what to say to that. Here's another spin doctor.
Senate Majority Whip from Wyoming, John Barrasso. You were with the president on Friday. I want to get to that in a moment, but also ask you about your trip out to Wyoming and out talking to all of the people. AAA has these as gas prices right now. We'll put it up on the board for everyone to see at $4.13. You said still below $4 in Wyoming, but it's on people's minds?
Well, absolutely, Dana. I was in your hometown of Newcastle, Wyoming. People still love you there, no surprise. They also love the president, support the president, what he's doing, and specifically with Iran. And yeah, gas prices are on their minds, as they always are for our producers, our farmers and ranchers, and people that drive long distances in Wyoming. They also understand that what the president is doing in an effort to provide stability in that part of the world will have good long-term impacts in terms of energy prices. They also understand that Republicans are the party of energy dominance. Democrats like high gas prices because of their radical climate agenda. So people understand what the president's doing, agree with him, and know that we need peace and stability and need to protect America long term from the threat of Iran, which has been there, and they've been at war with us for 47 years.
Of course, you know agriculture, not only here but around the world. And the head of the American Gas Association talked about how this blockade could affect that. Watch here.
You're right on airlines and obviously the price of gasoline, but we're really watching fertilizer. That's the Strait pushes out a lot of source for fertilizer. Right now, we're the second largest producer of fertilizer in the world. There's opportunity for growth there, but that's a real constraint as we're going into farming season, planting season, that countries around the world that rely on the Strait of Hormuz for fertilizer won't have it.
Is that on their minds?
Well, it certainly is. Fertilizer prices came up when I was visiting with agriculture leaders in Lusk in Niobrara County, south of Newcastle. It's of concern. What the president is doing is right in terms of the Straits of Hormuz and the blockade. We are not going to be held hostage. We're not going to be paying ransom to Iran. The president is right. It's going to take a little bit of time. We'll get in there and we'll clean out the mines that are there. The U.S. Navy has for decades provided freedom of navigation around the world, and we're not going to be held hostage by Iran.
All right.
Okay. That's what you want to believe? You're more of an idiot than I thought. The level of stupidity when it comes to all this, and again, I don't know why Republicans tend to suck Trump's ass. What they're afraid of, I don't know. It bewilders the mind at points. Talking about the Strait of Hormuz, there are ships going in and out. China said, basically, fuck the U.S. and fuck their blockade. We're going in and out. We have an agreement with Iran. Let me just.
30 have been watching us. We've been waiting for this window. It is open. And a moment ago, President Trump posting this on Truth Social, writing the following: Iran's Navy is laying at the bottom of the sea, completely obliterated 158 ships. What we have not hit are their small number of what they call fast attack ships, because we did not consider them much of a threat. Warning, if any of these ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated using the same system of kill that we use against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It is quick and brutal. P.S. 98.2% of drugs coming to the U.S. by ocean or sea have stopped. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that was posted a moment ago. From the region we go.
Okay, so then I'm going to throw this up. These are the ships coming in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. Mostly China, Pakistan. So your blockade didn't do fucking diddly dick. This was just yesterday, by the way. I don't know where the fucking blockade is. But there you have it. Just continuing to show more and more why President Stupid is a dumbass. And again, it just boggles the mind when you listen to some of this shit, see some of this shit. Pete Hegseth is no better. He's another buffoon. Some of the military people that are still in the military that I've talked to over the last couple months say they despise him more than they do Trump. There's no business being in that position. Remember what I said about Rubio saying that the country is run by Iran's run by obviously religious fanatics. What the fuck do you call this?
We are honored to come before your presence today, lifting up the arms of our president. We pray for your continued blessing and favor to rest upon him. We pray for wisdom from heaven to flood his heart, his mind, and Lord, you will guide him in these challenging times that we're facing today. I pray for your grace and your protection over him. Yes. I pray for your grace and protection over our troops and all of our men and women serving in our armed forces. Yes. And Father, we just pray you'll continue to give our president the strength that he needs to lead our great nation as we come back to one nation under God, yes, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We pray your heavenly blessing upon him in Jesus' name. Amen.
That's not religious fanatics, is it? Paula White was there, by the way. You saw her. That was last year. But that's okay. That's not religious fanatics in any sort of sense. Paula White isn't really a fucking priest or a preacher. She's a televangelist. She is much like Joel Osteen. They are all about the money. Probably could really give a shit less about the teachings of Christ or God. They're just in it to suck you dry of your pensions. Yeah. The Lord loves you. I praise and put my hands on you. And if you send $100 for this pamphlet, like Christ loves you, that's all that shit is. I found this interesting. Benjamin Netanyahu saying that J.D. Vance checks in with him.
I spoke yesterday with Vice President J.D. Vance. He called me from his plane on the way back from Washington. He reported to me in detail, as the people of this administration do every day, on the development of the negotiations. In this case, the explosion in the negotiations, the explosion came from the American side, which was not willing to tolerate the blatant violation of the agreement to enter negotiations by Iran. Essentially, the agreement was that there would be a ceasefire and Iran would immediately open the crossings. They didn't do that. The Americans were not willing to accept it. He also conveyed to me that the central issue on the table from the perspective of President Trump and the United States is the removal of all enriched material and ensuring that there is no more enrichment in the coming years, and this could be for decades.
Again, the Middle East is a bumblefuck. It always has been, and it always will be. I said this to Alon Bernstein about 4 or 5 weeks ago when I had him on, and I had him give a history of the Arab world against the Jewish world in the Middle East. This shit's been going on for 5,000 years, and it's not going to make a bit of difference. Although Israel and Egypt have been at peace since, what was it, 1977? When they signed a peace treaty between the two. Of course, Anwar Sadat paid with his life, because one of the generals of Egypt's army shot his ass dead. There's never going to be peace. Period. The radical Islamists in the Arab world over there want Israel wiped off the map. They just do. It's been going on for 5,000 years. And Israel's just trying to defend itself. But they've been at each other's throats for 5,000 years. And I don't care what president comes along. I don't care what leader comes along who thinks that they're going to be the difference for Middle East peace. Now, Jimmy Carter did wonders. Said the peace treaty between Egypt and Israel, great. But, you know, the regime in Iran, they just fuck it up for everybody else. There are some citizens of Iran that don't want regime change. This is the way they want it. There's always going to be that generation that's brought up to hate the Jews. There's a generation of Jews that are brought up to hate Arabs, the Muslim world. And I get it. I'm all about trying to strive for peace, trying to do what's right. I get it. But just like in October when supposedly President Trump signed the peace agreement, whatever peace they struck up, that fucking lasted, 3 months? I hope you enjoyed the program. As I've said before, I am not a political analyst. I follow the issues. I try to listen to both sides. I try to keep up to date on current issues. And look, am I Trump bashing? Maybe. I bashed Biden for a while. I will not say who I voted for in the last 2 elections. But are you going to agree with everything a president does? No. Are you going to agree with some of the shit that he does? Yes. The problem I have with Trump is the blatant abuse of power that he thinks he can get away with. And it's blatant. And like I said before, when he got elected the second time around, this is just a fucking vendetta tour. That's all this is. He doesn't give a shit how much money he's putting in your pocket. He doesn't care about going to war with Iran. He does not fucking care. He can care less about you. He can care less about the farmer. He can care less about the mother and father with a son and a daughter, and they're trying to stay afloat. You don't care. All this tour, I call it, this is his second tour. He wants to get back at everybody else who he thinks wrong. And that's, for me, that's the truth that I see. And that's just the way he is. Coming up, 8 o'clock. Early evening sports buffet with the Ginch. I am your host, Ed Ginch, Ryan Neff, here on the Cole County Entertainment Network. At 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will have a good friend to the show, Jeff Wald, come on, talking about Minnesota sports. I'm going to pick his brain about what he thinks about the Timberwolves, what he thinks about the Wild in hockey. The Timberwolves have an interesting matchup with the Denver Nuggets in the first round. I can't remember who the Wild are playing first. I'd have to go back and look at that. Minnesota, University of Minnesota football, their spring game's coming up April 25th. So I need to pick his brain because we are T-minus 3 months and counting until the coaches have their media days in July. It's already April. So that's 3 months away. And then I'll have to pick his brain about other stuff. The Twins, off to a decent start. So I'll pick his brain about everything. So join me 8 o'clock right here on the Cole County Entertainment Network for Early Evening Sports Buffet with the Ginch. I'll see you at the top of the hour.